Hi everybody, Harris here with iDownloadBlog. I've been using the Apple Watch Series 10 since the day it came out, and it has replaced my Apple Watch Ultra, which I really liked. I wasn't sure if a non-Ultra watch would be able to keep the spot on my wrist, but after these 4 months, it actually has. So in this video, I want to talk about the Apple Watch Series 10 after 4 months of usage, as well as comparing it from the perspective of a previous Apple Watch Ultra user. Let's go ahead and get started with this review. Okay, so I can pretty confidently say that this is, in my opinion, the best designed Apple Watch we've seen. The big factor is its slimness, and it's no longer as rectangular, or at least rectangular in perception, as the previous Apple Watches, and that goes a really long way. So the Apple Watch has always been a little bit of a dorky device, and then when the Ultra came out, it became even dorkier because it basically looked like you're wearing a computer on your wrist. It was really thick, but it came with some huge advantages such as a massive display and battery life that could easily last you up to 3 days depending on how you're using it and more. But this Apple Watch Series 10 is the slimmest Apple Watch ever. It is 9.7 millimeters, down from 10.7 millimeters with the Series 9 and down from a whopping 14.4 millimeters with the Apple Watch Ultra. So this is now much thinner, and it goes a really long way when it's on your wrist for a variety of reasons. For one, it just doesn't stand out as much. It's not anywhere as awkward as wearing as the Apple Watch Ultra, which now that I'm seeing other people wearing the Ultra while I haven't been wearing it, I always notice and I always think, wow, that's kind of a bulky design. With this, it fits very seamlessly on your wrist. And the most important thing for me is I can actually fit all my dress shirts, all my hoodies, all my long sleeve shirts over the watch, where it would so often get stuck with the Apple Watch Ultra. And that was just a really annoying factor about this watch. But now pretty much any shirt will fit right over this Apple Watch Series 10, which is really nice. It also now has a slightly wider display, which makes it less prominently rectangular. It still is rectangular and it's not a square, but I think it flattens it out and makes it a little bit more appealing on the wrist in terms of the overall design. And of course, there is the new jet black color, which we haven't seen in years and we haven't seen since the iPhone 7 came out. And I was a little bit nervous about getting this at first because I figured I would scratch it up a lot. I'm not particularly careful with my watches, but I will say after all these months, there's not a single scratch on this. I've seriously been using this every day. I don't know how. I guess it's just a really durable material, but it has held up super well and I haven't had any scratches on it. Now you will get some fingerprints on it, but you won't really notice that unless you're shining a light on it like I am in my studio. Now, if I was going to nitpick about the design of the Series 10, I find that the action button on the side can be a little bit hard to press. You certainly can't really feel it on the device. It is so flush and it's kind of a soft press, whereas the Apple Watch Ultra was a very tactile press, which was just easier to find. Now, you don't have to worry about accidental presses because it's flush, but I just found it isn't as satisfying or easy to press. Now, the other thing that makes this Apple Watch so nice is that it has gotten even lighter. This weighs basically nothing if you have a lightweight band on it. Now, I did get the Milanese band, the first time getting a more premium band from Apple, which I think when you combine them actually looks super good with the jet black design and this black Milanese loop. I definitely think it can be dressed up much nicer than any other of the entry-level Apple Watches ever, but I didn't really realize how lightweight this Apple Watch was until I took off the Milanese loop and put back on my Velcro strap, and it really feels like it weighs nothing. Very, very comfortable on the wrist. Not that I was ever super uncomfortable with the Apple Watch Ultra, but you do notice it. It feels almost like a toy. It's so lightweight, but I think that's nice for overall comfort long term, especially for exercise. Now, the other factor that had me a little bit worried about switching from the Apple Watch Ultra to the Apple Watch Series 10 was battery life. Because as someone who exercises a lot, does a lot of running, cycling, pickleball playing now, the Apple Watch Ultra was great because I could use it all day, use it for exercising, and still use it overnight for sleep, and then use it the next day as well. Whereas typically with an Apple Watch, if you're planning on working out or exercising or using cellular or GPS or basically anything that's a little bit more intensive, good luck sleeping with it and getting your sleep data overnight and then using it the next day. You're just not going to do that. Now, this Apple Watch doesn't fix that problem, but there is a really effective workaround that I've actually been quite content with, and that's just fast charging. So now you can get up to 80% of battery in 30 minutes of charging, or Apple claims enough juice for 8 hours of sleep with just 8 minutes of charging if you have a fast charger. So basically this now means for certain tasks, mainly showering, when I want to take my watch off, I can throw it on the charger. I can actually get a decent charge out of it. Whereas before it would feel like even showering just wouldn't be enough time to get sustainable juice out of your Apple Watch. But now you can actually get some solid charging from a quick amount of time. So while the battery itself hasn't gotten better, fast charging with the right charger is a really valuable addition, so that with just 15 or 30 minutes of charging, you can use your Apple Watch intensely and then also use it for sleep data overnight and hopefully get into that next day. It's still not perfect, but I think for the price difference and the size difference, it's a really valuable compromise. Now, one addition to this watch, as you can see, is the speaker grills. You can now play media directly from the watch. Now, I've only done this once, and it was when I was transferring my data to the new iPhone and I couldn't connect my phone to my car. So I was just using the watch for media during one drive one time a couple months ago, which is to say I don't really have a use for this. Generally, I'm not playing media out loud, and if I do, I'll be using a speaker or I'll just be connected to my AirPods. So that's not a super useful feature for me, but it exists nonetheless. So if you want to play media, you can, and the speaker is actually pretty loud. The one thing you could always do with the Apple Watch is answer calls from your speaker. So that hasn't changed, and previous Apple Watches can still do that, but this definitely can, and it's pretty loud. Now, other new features of this watch would be water temperature and depth tracking, which is nice to have. I will be going surfing actually this weekend for the first time, so I won't be able to test that out yet for this review, but those are new features as well. They've also added sleep apnea detection if that's something that you are worried about, but for the most part, it is a pretty similar software experience to the Apple Watch Series 9 and previous Apple Watches. But overall, I think this is actually an excellent Apple Watch. My favorite feature would be the design. I think it's just so sleek, and it is just, I think, much more an attractive Apple Watch than any previous one. And I love the fact that this jet black does stay very clean. And the display is great. Apple's now gone from 42 to 44 to 45 to now 46 millimeter display size, which is it's great. It's a really big screen and allows you to use the keyboard functionality for typing if that's something that you want to use. And this does go up to 2000 nits of brightness with up to 40% brighter at angles, which I don't think I care too much about. I didn't really notice that with devices that couldn't claim that, but as you can see, it's still pretty visible off axis, and that is a nice feature for glances. And I remember the first day using this watch, I was kind of blown away because it looked like the screen was just melting into the edge. You can see that curved edge looks super nice. It's almost kind of trippy. It looks like, yeah, the glass has been heated up and just kind of oozing into the side of the display. It's a cool effect and a really nice little feature about this watch as well. So I'm super happy with the Apple Watch Series 10. I think its new thinner design, bigger screen, and fast charging makes it a really valuable option over the Apple Watch Ultra, and you can save a lot of money doing so, especially right now. There have been a lot of sales with the Apple Watch Series 10. So I think this is a great buy. I think it makes a lot of sense to get this watch unless you specifically want the extra battery life and aren't as concerned with the fast charging, or you need some of the advanced workout and tracking and activity features that the Ultra offers. But I think just because of the form factor, I'm going to be sticking with the Apple Watch Series 10. I've been really happy with it. I think it's just a solid device all around. Let me know your thoughts with the Apple Watch Series 10, especially compared to the Apple Watch Ultra. Let me know your thoughts. We'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.